Hello, everyone. Our channel selects viewpoints and analytical articles from think tanks and well-known figures within the Chinese internet and presents them to Western readers so that everyone can understand how China thinks. Each episode is carefully curated, translated, and refined for clarity and flow so that international audiences can follow the nuances of China's intellectual and policy discussions. If you find this helpful, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share our channel. Thank you. It should be emphasized that the content we present reflects only the original author's views. Our aim is merely to enhance readers' understanding of perspectives from the Chinese intellectual and policy-making circles. In recent years, China has mounted an ambitious push to dominate the global clean energy and technology supply chains, especially in sectors like photovoltaics, electric vehicles, and lithium-ion batteries. Because of this strategic emphasis, Chinese firms have come to control a large share of global production in components such as polysilicon and solar modules, an industrial scale rarely seen in modern history. Yet this dominance has collided with mounting overcapacity, declining prices, and shrinking profits, exposing the structural tension between policy-driven expansion and market sustainability. The paradox of big scale, low profit is now at the heart of China's new energy story. It reflects not only economic pressures but also a deeper question about how an industrial model rooted in state coordination can evolve toward innovation-based competitiveness. You, as a listener from the Western world, may find this mix of massive scale and fragile profitability unfamiliar or even unsettling. But if you listen with an open mind, you may ask yourself, does this model hold lessons worth learning? Or do you see in it the seeds of fatal flaws on the Chinese end? Feel free to share your reflections in the comments below. With that context in mind, let's now listen to the voices from inside China's solar industry community. Published on October 29, 2025, at 23:10, China's solar industry now holds about 80% of the global market. Yet instead of reaping extraordinary profits, many companies are reporting heavy losses, close to 60 billion renminbi in 2024. How did this happen, and why? In recent years, China's industrial policy has strongly supported emerging sectors. Solar, lithium batteries, and electric vehicles have all surged ahead, each taking more than 60% of the world market. Exports of these three new pillars rose sharply, and in 2024, their combined value exceeded 1 trillion renminbi. By the usual logic of market competition, a firm that dominates a sector should be able to capture outsized profits. We see this in the United States with Google, Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, and Tesla. Many countries maintain antitrust laws precisely to prevent dominant players from extracting excessive profits and harming consumers. So, by standard economic reasoning, if China leads in these three sectors, we would expect strong profitability across the board. The picture should be one of booming growth and healthy margins. But the reality is different. China's new energy champions have grabbed global market share without securing the profits that often come with it. In solar, for example, Chinese companies control roughly 80% of the international market. Even so, the sector has been swept up in a wave of cutthroat competition and industry-wide losses. In 2024, 31 A-share companies across the solar value chain together lost about 57.4 billion renminbi. Why do American leaders monetize their dominance, while Chinese leaders often fail to turn scale into profit? Why do U.S. giants keep earning big, yet many Chinese champions end up expanding output while losing money? The fundamental reason lies in two very different development paths. American firms generally follow market-driven growth, relying on technological innovation to sustain an edge and command premium pricing. Microsoft earned extraordinary returns by controlling the Windows operating system. Apple built a profit engine by pioneering the modern smartphone. Nvidia enjoys industry-leading net margins thanks to its advanced AI chips. Globally successful companies tend to win through technical breakthroughs and business model innovation, and that is how they earn durable profits. By contrast, many Chinese firms have not followed that path. They have grown under policy guidance and subsidy support. Rather than originating frontier technologies, they expanded through rapid imitation and scale. Without deep proprietary know-how, they relied on imported or reverse-engineered technologies, aggressive pricing, and government incentives to survive. The competition has been about survival, not about margins. This environment means that even when a sector reaches number one in size, it may lack a robust profit engine. Companies can scale quickly, yet remain fragile. China's large real estate developers and several private sector leaders have illustrated how this story can end. As a result, solar, wind, lithium batteries, electric vehicles, and other new industries often grow by chasing volume, not by improving technology, quality, and profitability. The outcome is rapid expansion, overwhelming market share, and very thin margins, sometimes outright losses. Even the leading players may fail to make money, and the entire industry can hit a dead end with little prospect of sustainable returns. This is what many now call involution. It is a race to the bottom that ends up squeezing everyone. The essence of this involution is a form of unfair competition that sells below cost and rewards the ability to stomach losses. It is survival of the strongest balance sheet, and it hurts every participant, including society at large. Healthy markets do not celebrate limitless no-rules rivalry. They depend on trust, rules, and competition that advances technology, raises quality and efficiency, and delivers real value to consumers. Two pricing principles matter here. First, curb the abuse of monopoly power that allows firms to set prices too high and harvest excessive profits at the expense of consumers. That is the logic behind antitrust. Second, ban below-cost selling aimed at seizing market share. Predatory pricing is destructive because it wipes out industry profits, starves research and development, undermines quality, and traps the sector in a vicious cycle of cheap, inferior, and deceptive competition. Why have foreign markets generally avoided a full-blown below-cost spiral? Because privately owned firms dominate and market discipline is firm. If a company engages in price wars below cost, it is committing slow suicide and soon goes bankrupt. When overcapacity hits and prices plunge, many firms fail and exit. That painful process clears the market. Why has China fallen into a low-price involutionary pattern? Because a government-led ecosystem has taken shape. Many companies depend on subsidies and local incentives for their bottom line. Selling below cost to win market share has become a routine tactic. This strategy has indeed helped Chinese firms conquer international markets, often reaching number one in share. Large companies may not fear continued losses because local governments, eager to protect GDP and jobs, step in with support. Even under severe overcapacity, firms do not easily go bankrupt. The excess never truly clears. Take solar as an example. In 2024, China produced over 90% of global polysilicon, more than 96% of wafers, over 92% of cells, and about 86% of modules. By 2025, capacity across every major stage, polysilicon, wafers, cells, and modules surpassed 1,200 gigawatts, more than twice the roughly 580 gigawatts of global demand expected for the year. Abroad, such a glut would be unlikely to form in the first place, and if it did, perhaps half the firms would quickly go under. In China, however, the priority of stabilizing the economy and employment means that even amid a broad campaign against involution, most solar companies are hard to eliminate. They find ways to hang on. Involution has become an economic ecology and a development pattern. It is hard to unwind, but without breaking this ecology, China will not escape chronic overcapacity, more output without more revenue, and a steady erosion of profits. Now, let's turn to the voices from the public. One commenter calls this entire situation a living lesson in failed industrial policy. He writes that the government has built giants that can't stand on their own feet. Another replies that it's not that simple, that competition, even brutal competition, pushes firms to innovate faster. Without this pressure, he says, we might never have reached such global dominance in the first place. Third reader jokes that this is the world's most exhausting success story, winning the gold medal in market share but losing money in every round. Someone else points out that if you want to see where this path leads, just look at the property sector. massive scale, endless projects, and vanishing profits. One voice, more cynical, remarks that China's industrial game is like feeding calves with endless subsidy milk. It makes them grow fast, but never strong enough to live on their own. Another asks, half seriously, whether it's time to form a solar OPEC to set production quotas and unify pricing, so that everyone can finally breathe. A few readers defend the industry, saying that many solar firms have in fact developed world-class technologies and that temporary losses are the price of transformation. One comment simply says, "At least we're not paying foreign monopolies anymore." Another adds, "Maybe this is how China reshapes the world's energy map, painfully but inevitably." Yet beneath the humor and sarcasm, the fatigue is clear. People are tired of winning on paper while losing in real life, and that may be the truest reflection of the current moment, a triumph in numbers, but a struggle in profit, and an unresolved question about the future of China's industrial model. That concludes today's narration. Through the voices of China's industrial thinkers, we've explored how policy, technology, and strategy converge in the country's push to rise through software and intelligence. For clarity and flow, some parts of the original article have been summarized or refined to make them easier for international audiences to follow. If you would like to read the full text or discuss the ideas in more depth, you are welcome to reach out to us directly. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to How China Thinks. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.